Ladies and gentlemen, the war is over. NC State men's basketball has won an ACC road game for the first time since February 17th, 2024.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our Wednesday/post-game live show is brought to you by Rugiet. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now is the time. Head on over to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rugiet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It is a very late post-game live here on Tuesday evening, but the NC State Wolfpack men's basketball team have picked up an ACC road win over Boston College, 79-71. As always, I am Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We've got Kenton back in the house here. Kenton, we have won an ACC road game. It doesn't feel spectacular because I had some concerns about the way we play. However, I will say what I always say in this type of circumstance: a road win is hard to come by, especially in conference. You did some things well, some things to improve on. Boston College shot insane tonight, but you're still able to win. A win is a win, and we'll take it moving forward.
You know, the biggest thing that I take away from this is not only the win, but it appeared that Darian Williams started to find his shot back a little bit, right? And that's something that we had talked about ad nauseum in terms of, hey, this is something that needs to happen. It's been so talked about that Will Wade and Joe Giglio had created their viral moment, right? Talking about Darian's shot not falling and all that. And this game seemed to get him back on the right pace. However, the question still remains, can he do it in the games that matter? Because with all due respect, you weren't bought in to beat Boston College. You know, like you didn't, you know, you wouldn't even pay a guy what we're getting paid to do this podcast to beat Boston College. That's just not what you're doing, you know. No disrespect, Mr. Locke. We appreciate you. But, you know, you don't pay a guy that to beat Boston College. That's just what that is. So the reality is we look at that and go from here and say, okay, can we get this going against better teams? But at the end of the day, how critical do you want to be? You know, that becomes the question at that point, because now I'm saying, all right, we didn't bring you in to beat Boston College, but you got to get the ball rolling somewhere. There has to be some point where we look back and say, okay, this is where we can point to. He started to get it together in conference here. And it's not just a him, it's a team thing. Yes, we saw some of the same concerning problems that we had already seen. Yes, we saw some of the things in terms of, oh boy, another great three-point shooting performance by a team who typically does not shoot threes well against us. Who could have predicted this, right? You've had those problems, but you also saw some really good things. This team is starting to form an identity defensively, a really good positive around creating chaos. This is starting to be a team that even when you beat them, you know you're going to turn the ball over a lot because this team is going to pressure you. They're going to be all over the place in your space. They're going to take risks and take chances, which it may not be ideal. That may not be the way that people may feel like, oh, that's not the proper way to win championships. But one thing that you and I asked for after the Virginia game was, who are you? Where do you hang your hat? And that's starting to become a bit of a place where you do hang your hat. That's starting to become a place where when you think about NC State basketball, that's one of the things that you could say they do at a high level, because even if you go back to that Virginia game, which again, I'm not saying it was great, not saying it was perfect. You forced 14 turnovers in that game as well. So you're looking at a situation where now we're starting to see consistently, okay, this defense is not perfect. It has its flaws. We know about the rim protection. We know about the fact that, I mean, with all due respect, we've got some guys on the perimeter that are a little bit of a comb, but you are getting some guys that are willing to play the passing lanes, that are willing to take those calculated risks and create turnovers. So ultimately, we talk about, you know, every ACC win is valuable. Every ACC road win, even more valuable. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm pretty sure we had a different president last time we won a ACC road game. So you are excited about that, but it also becomes a situation where you say, how do we build from this? That's my biggest question. How do you build on top of this and say, all right, we got momentum. Let's stack some good days now. Darian Williams, you've had a great scoring performance. Let's stack some great scoring performances now.
Yeah, and I do want to keep it right there on Darian Williams for just a second. He rocked a headband tonight, and suddenly he's a good scorer again. He had 22 tonight on 8 of 18, 4 of 7 from beyond the perimeter. That looks a lot more like the Darian Williams we've kind of expecting to be consistent throughout. So whatever that was tonight, maybe it was playing a lower level opponent. Maybe it was, finally taking some of the Wade comments to heart from the end of last week and just deciding that tonight would be a night that he's going to get some momentum going, whatever it may be. Very glad to see him start to look more like a semblance of the player that we thought we'd be getting tonight. And again, look more confident in the shot taking. Obviously, Wade spoke earlier this week about getting him more scoring opportunities and how he kind of felt like it was a bad reflection upon himself being Will Wade, that, he's not putting Darian in the best positions to succeed. Tonight, he let him basically have a green light whenever he wanted it, and he took advantage of it. So I was proud of the way Darian really bounced back in a game like tonight. And again, sometimes, even though it is a lower level opponent, you just got to see the ball go through the hoop a couple times. That'll just get the confidence rolling. And, it doesn't stop there. I thought Terrence Arsenault also played a pretty solid game tonight off the bench. He had 12 points, 4 of 6 from the floor, 3 of 3 from downtown. And that's not exactly a calling card of his, but when he can give it to you, it's always going to be an added bonus. And another player that you would love to just inject a ton of confidence into, because that's a guy, at least like I've said before, I picked him to be the X factor for us this year. And when he can give you double-digit points and play some very solid perimeter defense, he has all the ability in the world to be an X factor for this team. It's just
absolutely
night in and night out against upper level, lower level teams, and anywhere in between. Can you be a consistent dude for us? And that has still been unanswered. But maybe you got some sniffings in the hedge clippings tonight. So I was proud of Terrence Arsenault tonight. Matt Abel's another guy that we've been kind of waiting to really get the ball rolling with. He had 11, 4 of 7 from the floor, 3 of 4 from downtown, hit some big shots, some momented shots, I will say there as well. So, the offense in pockets tonight, it had its strengths, but also it kind of got stuck in the mud a couple times. And that's where some of my concerns about, I guess you could say, like the ugliness came from. Some of the shot selection, shooting too early in the shot clock and basically just ending a possession with like 17 on the shot clock. I don't know. I guess it is what it is. And I don't want to be the guy that harps and brings a rain cloud to an 8-point road win, but it's just the little things that I'm seeing that are still not being corrected quite yet. And I know Wade and the staff are basically seeing the same thing. It's just like, you shouldn't be winning by only 8 points on the road against Boston College. That's the worst team that we're going to see probably the rest of the year. That's the worst team in the ACC, one of the worst teams at the P4 level. And, it felt like we almost kept them in the game for large pockets of that game. So small disappointment there. Again, I don't want to be the rain cloud on a rainy day, but to me, this NC State team, they're still lacking that killer instinct. And that, to me, that might be a bigger concern than really anything else. Because, you saw those problems in Maui. You saw those problems against Virginia. You've seen pockets of it all over the place, especially against that Kansas team in the Lenovo Center. A killer instinct is something that, to be honest, I thought we'd demonstrate a lot more of. And Quadir Copeland has it, but he's been with Wade. And so he kind of knows the overall feeling of what that needs to be. The rest of the guys just don't really quite have it yet. And so I think that's a lot of where the inconsistency is kind of stemming from. It's like, for some reason, you're 15, 16 games in, and we still look kind of discombobulated at some points. And so, again, it's concerning. It's an 8-point road win. It's hard to come by on the road. I'll take it for what it is, and especially when Boston College shot was at 50% from downtown, and I think they're the worst shooting team in the ACC. I don't know how many times we're going to run into that circumstance, like Kenton was pointing out, like, yeah, this player is a 19% three-point shooter. He's hit 7 3-pointers tonight. Wow, that's crazy. That's like the 5th different time we've heard that this year, and Fred Payne was the lucky winner for Boston College tonight. So, again, maybe the defensive system is set up where you're just going to have like a random dude go off every game, but if you can lock down the main guys, then maybe you'll survive that game. Like, for example, Donald Hand for Boston College, he's their go-to guy. He had 14 tonight, a 4 of 8. whatever. We'll take it. But all in all, to wrap this up, a win is a win. We'll take it moving forward. I think I was most impressed with some of the confidence you could see in our guys tonight.
Yeah, ultimately, we've talked about the things that are glitches versus features. We know at this point in time in the season, you can count on it as sure as the sun rises on the east and sets on the west. There's going to be some random player, some guy that's the fourth leading scorer, fifth leading scorer, some guy that's an 8-point a game scorer. We're going to look at the box score at the end of the night and say, this team played against Lenore Ryan, and he didn't score as much against them as he did against us. Wow, how interesting. That's a part of this, right? This is a Boston College team that quite literally lost to the Blue Devils earlier this season. I know what you're thinking. A lot of people lose to Cameron Boozer and company. No.
Yeah.
No. The Central Connecticut State Blue Devils. That is so. Grayson is right to say an 8-point win is the most impressive thing in the world. And like we've talked about, again, these things are features. They are features. However, the question becomes, can you survive with this feature? That's the real question. And we'll get into that more after the break here. But that's something that needs to be delved into because, Grayson and I, we're going to tell you what it is, what it ain't, what it could be, and what it can't. And right now, there's a thought of confidence and there's the idea that, Darian is getting it back rolling. And, hey, Quadir Copeland's been our most consistent player all year. So for him to have an off night and for us to still win a game comfortably, that's a great sign. But there are still some things that are very concerning.
Yeah, so we'll certainly dive in a little bit deeper to some of the numbers from this game and more about what they may mean just tonight and also moving forward. That will come after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday show / post-game sponsor is FanDuel. The wild card round for the NFL is nearly here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users will get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. How about that? Christmas is past, but you're still getting a little gift every now and then. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you love the most. The boost to let you lean into the game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or maybe even coaching. The boost will give you more juice on the bets that you already love instead of forcing you to try out something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts will make your bets feel the exact same way. Make your picks and then apply your profit boost to go even bigger with the payouts after the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day, only on FanDuel. All right, middle portion of our post-game show. This is also our Thursday episode. An 8-point win on the road against Boston College, 79-71. We spoke about Darian Williams. He led the way with 22 on 8 of 18 shooting. Your second leading scorer, actually, it was Terrence Arsenault. He had 12. Matt Abel had 11. Copeland, although, yes, it kind of felt like an off night, he had 8, but he also had 10 assists. And some of those assists were like Magic Johnson-esque. There was one under the hoop where I don't even know how he saw the opening for the pass, but he had a little scoop underneath, led to an easy bucket. The vision, and they kept commentating actually on this on the ACC network as well. I don't really even know how he sees these guys. It's just kind of like a seasoned vet with anticipation all over the court. And he put that on full display tonight. So again, just 8 points, but he had 10 assists, finding other ways to impact the game. We know that Will Wade certainly has a thing for that. Scotty Abube got in the game early there in the first half. He had a couple buckets. He had 4 points. But again, I know people are clamoring for more Abube, and I certainly see a lane where he can help you out, especially against some of the teams with more size and ACC play. But he's just such a funny basketball player to me because if you leave him in for 5 minutes, he might foul out like that quickly, like without exaggeration. He might foul out in 5 minutes. But I think there will be some increased usage for Abube moving down the lane. And, Van Allen Lubin, another somewhat quiet game. He had 7 and 3 underneath. Kind of struggled a little bit with completing the shot, or at least finishing at the rim tonight. We'll see how that progresses moving forward. But so far, so good, I would say, for Ben. Paul McNeil had 6 points tonight. A little bit of an off night for him as well. 2 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 6 from downtown. Again, we need a little bit more consistency there from P2, but 79 points I thought was a little bit underwhelming, all things considered. The rebounding tonight was maybe a bigger concern than just the scoring in itself. Boston College out-rebounded us by 6 tonight. And again, this is not a very good Boston College team. You know, you get a lucky bounce here and there, but I don't know. I just thought the overall effort level for State was not where I really wanted it to be, so to speak.
I'm going to tell you this right now. And, you know, a lot of people are going to listen to this and say, oh, my God, they're being doom and gloomers. So let me give you a very bright glimmer of hope here. We have an all ACC point guard in Quader Copeland.
We do.
And I mean that with everything that's in me. Because when I talk about guys that are a little bit of a cone defensively, he does not fall into that group. When we talked about Quader Copeland coming into the year, we said, hey, this is a guy that's scrappy. He can handle the ball. He needs to figure out the three-point shot. He's one of our best three-point shooters. I believe he's up at 45 or so percent on the year, something ridiculous for a guy that coming into the season, we said, oh, man, this is something he needs to work on, and yet he's turned out to be one of the better shooters in the conference, if not the nation altogether, because he doesn't shoot a high volume, but when he does shoot them, they're going in. With that being said, he is the prime example of finding ways to affect the game positively, even though we saw the shots were not falling for him tonight. Even though we saw, and it's been a theme, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Quader Copeland has never committed a foul in his life. He does get a little handsy at times. He has earned some of those fouls. Some of those are reputation fouls, and he still finds a way to defend at a high level, despite the fact that, I mean, his whistle is tighter than spandex on a wrestler. I mean, that thing is anytime an offensive player comes near him, that ref is ready to blow the whistle. So I think that it's a double-edged sword for him, but he still finds ways to do positive things when he's on the court on both ends of the floor. Now, with that being said, the other edge of this, while I do have confidence, Quader Copeland's shot is going to fall and he's going to do, you know, what he needs to do to keep this thing rolling. And if we can keep Darian shooting at this level, I think we'll be just fine. My biggest problem is what Will Wade said before, you're banking on hope. Yeah. Hope that somebody goes off and whatnot. And that's a very good point. Obviously, we know every game is not going to be Texas State for P2. We know that. Just because you are not shooting well does not give you the right to not be locked in defensively and let your man go off for a career high. Those two things do not equate to one another, right? Like, that's not what that equals. So we need to kind of get that going and get that rolling. Do I have more confidence in this team or less confidence in this team coming out of this game? I'd say neither. Because this team, to me, reaffirmed who they are in virtually every way imaginable. The only thing that I would say gives me more confidence and it inspires confidence is the fact that you can win with Quader Copeland performing not as hot from the field. But the problem is you did that against the worst team in the ACC. You did that against the worst team in the ACC. So how do I feel about that? And then you say, does it inspire less confidence? Well, have we been defensive stalwarts all year and hands, career night? Is that a rarity? No. We've seen from multiple guys. You play NC State. If I'm a third, fourth scorer playing NC State, I'm licking my this is good barbecue ribs, oxtails, greens, neck bones. Get the cornbread over there and pour the agave over the cornbread. I need that good cornbread.
That's ball right there.
That's what they're seeing. So we're not looking at anything that we walked away from saying, we have not seen that from this team and it happened in this game. We're walking away from a game that NC State has played 10 times now, 15 times now. The only question is, what is the quality of the other team? Which is a problem for me because this roster to me is talented enough on paper that it should not be about the other team as often as it is. This team on paper is talented enough to me to dictate the terms of the game to teams. And right now we're not doing it. We're hoping and praying. Well, hopefully Darian shoots well tonight, and then we finally get a good night from him. And then Quadir Copeland has a bad night. Paul McNeil has a bad night. And then we finally get a good night from Abel and Arsenal at the same time. And that's no disrespect because, again, Abel is a freshman. And although he's the highly touted star stopper of this freshman class, he's a freshman. Anything I get from a freshman in today's basketball, where for the most part, you got 10, 15 freshmen in America that are going to be super impactful, and all those guys are going to be draft picks next year, Matt Abel is a rarity. That's great, and that's good and all that. But at the end of the day, we need everybody to be adding in. He should always be an extra, and everybody else, we should get what we get from them on a regular basis, because right now we're hoping Darian goes off for 20 or 30. We're hoping P2 goes off for 20 or 30. We're hoping that Quadir doesn't have a bad game, when we should be able to count on these things happening. And this doesn't even mention the defensive aspect of it, where at this point, I'm like, okay, it's not just the players. It has to be the scheme at some point in time, because you can't keep allowing. You cannot keep allowing third and fourth options to see you coming and all of a sudden say, I'm going to get a Hollywood Walk of Fame tonight, Walk of Fame star on your head tonight. You can't keep doing it. So this game does not inspire confidence, nor does it strip confidence from me. And in fact, reinforces who we are. And I think that that's a problem. If we want to achieve Will Wade's goals, stated goals of top 4 in the ACC and a tournament appearance, I think we're on pace for a tournament appearance. I think we're on pace for that. I do not believe we are on pace for a top 4 finish. And this game, again, it didn't strip confidence or add confidence. It leaves me walking away exactly how I felt coming in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think you said that extremely well. And I know some people enjoy this more than others, but that game kind of felt like getting socks for Christmas. You're like, well, yeah, I'll use it, but it's not the Audi that I was expecting in the driveway. But yeah, it's just that, like, I don't know. I don't want to keep beating the same drum, but again, you said it well. It's like the expectations for this game and the output that we got, it didn't quite match. And again, a win's a win. You'll take that for what it is, but this team shouldn't be struggling at this point of the season against this type of Boston College team. This team shouldn't have, I keep using the ship with the hole in the bottom, but it's almost like whack-a-mole in a sense. Like, you get 1 point hammer down, well, then you got another gopher coming up, and it's like, oh, well, I thought we fixed that 3-point shooting. I'm going to hit this over here. Oh, now you can't get offensive rebounds, and Boston College is out-rebounding you on the road. It's like, okay, well, let's try and fix that next game. And it's like, oh, now we're giving up another career night to somebody else that only shoots 15%, lifetime. And tonight, like I said, Boston College had one of those, another career high given up. And so the same point that I've driven home a couple different times in some of these games, it gets to a point with the way that we're scheming up these teams and game planning and executing the game plan. It gets to a point where you have a glaring weakness in how you're preparing against some of these teams. And so whether it's Boston College or upcoming on Saturday, you have Florida State on the road. That should be a very interesting game, because I don't think Florida State's all that great either, but they have some talent that can certainly beat you if you don't show up and play the way that we're supposed to. It's just so many inconsistencies continually. And like I said the other day, for right now, for what it is, that's our identity. Our identity is we don't really have one. And we're trying to scramble around each game and figure out what it is. And we've had that same complaint about NC State football the last couple of years and how irritating that had been at times to try and figure out the middle of the season. And now here we are in year 1 of Will Wade. It's supposed to be the reckoning, and we're not quite reckoning with anything quite yet. So, it's irritating at times. Again, a win is a win, and I'll keep that right there for what it is. You push it moving forward. You're 2-1 now in conference play. The goals are still on the table, but I just felt very meh tonight. Yeah. Very win, great. Let's keep it pushing. Nothing to write home about in this one. And some wins are like that, and I guess tonight is one of those. So again, 8-point win on the road against Boston College. Kenton was not able to give his thoughts on the offensive line getting restructured for NC State football. So we do have some thoughts on that coming up after another quick word from our sponsors. Stay with us. Our second post-game sponsor is Rugiet. Let's talk about something that most men don't want to bring up. I'm sure this is what you want to hear after post-game on a Tuesday night, but these men, they absolutely should be talking about it. Stress from work, money, or life, sometimes it just doesn't switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, maybe at the free throw line, Rugiet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rugiet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body. All right, I'm going to lock in here. So you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. The science behind Rugiet Ready, well, it stands out. There's 3 clinically proven ingredients in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. You can connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything you order will ship discreetly to the convenience of your front door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. And if you've been thinking about taking that next step, well, now's the time. Head on over to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com, rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. LOCKEDON, locked on college. Well, that's locked on college, COLLEGE, to get 15% off of your order for a limited time. Rugiet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. All right, last couple minutes here of our post game on Tuesday evening. This is also our Thursday episode. A couple big time developments for NC State football over the course of the last 48 hours. We will start with the one from the transfer portal. NC State picks up a commitment from ECU offensive tackle Jamarian McCrimmon. Now, Kenton, this is a first-team All-AAC offensive lineman this past season for the Pirates. He's bringing a multitude of experience, both at left and right tackle from ECU to NC State.
Yeah, you muted yourself.
Hear me now?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right, my fault. We talked about losing Ja'Carrius Peak to the portal, and it felt like, 24 hours later, you get somewhat of an answer from that same portal, which is ECU offensive tackle Jamarian McCrimmon. Kenton, your thoughts?
I think McCrimmon is a very good answer for the loss of Peak. I understand that he's not the type of guy that you replace one for one. We all get that. That's no easy task or easy feat. However, this is a very good fix here because McCrimmon is a guy that I believe he's given up 4 sacks over 800 pass blocking snaps. Now, we know all pass blocking snaps are not created equally because, of course, RPOs count as pass blocking snaps now. And, there's a lot of quick game for different schools and all that good stuff. But ECU is a team that last year, one of their biggest advantages was their speed on the outside. That was one of the things that they, had to take advantage of at a high clip, which necessitated holding the ball longer at certain points in time. And ultimately, you cannot deny that McCrimmon held up very well against not only AAC pass rushers, but also against NC State pass rushers. He held up pretty well regardless of who ECU was playing. And so ultimately what we're seeing here, this is a great pickup for NC State. This is a great pickup. Even if Ja'Carrius Peak had stayed, you still could have used a guy like McCrimmon to, add either depth or an excellent pass protector from the inside. But having him at tackle, his natural position, even better. Obviously, again, we are not going to sit here and cry over spilled milk all day and tomorrow. Ja'Carrius is gone. That's just what it is. But this is a very good get out of the portal when that became a position of need. To address that need so immediately and so thoroughly, you've got to give Dorn and his staff a hand for this one.
Yeah, I thought the staff did an excellent job of staying on top of things to fill in that need as quick as you possibly could have to make sure that you are keeping that blueprint for the offseason in check. So then the next announcement was a two-pack, if you will, both offensive tackle Teague Anderson and our center for 2026. That is Spike Souls, the freshman All-American Spike Souls, if you will. They will also be returning to NC State for the 2026 season. Kenton, how big of a deal is to get those two back?
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. As Nick Saban and Mario Cristobal agreed upon, mass kicks, you know what, and these are two big bubbles. These are two guys that absolutely get it done. And also the reality of, we're not going to say too much here, but the reality of what some of the terms are here have to be exciting for Wolfpack Nation in terms of not only securing great players, but securing great players for the position that is one of the premium, or two of the positions rather, that are premium positions in all of football, really, not just NFL, not just college. You're always looking for great big guys. To have these two coming back is a very, very positive thing. Spike Souls, to be such a young guy, there wasn't a ton of this. There wasn't a ton of up and down and dips for him, which is surprising and impressive. Exactly what Grayson is doing. It was up and to the right the entire time, and he kept getting better and better and better. Even early, you could see that the talent was there, but it just, this is a freshman just slow dancing at prom a few months ago that's now having to block guys that are somewhere between 20 and 23 most often. Not an easy task exactly. And yet he handled it pretty well. Teague Anderson, that was a little bit more of a kind of up and down ride for us last year. But once he stabilized late in the season, he was really good as well. He was a guy that early in the season, he left some meat on the bone. He left something to be desired, to be quite honest. But late in the season, he bought all of the things that you knew were coming with him. You knew that he was bringing nastiness. You knew he was bringing the edge. You knew he was bringing the physicality. He just bought it in a more controlled way. We saw less penalties. We saw less things that just make you say, dude, that's a drive killer. We saw a lot less of that from T late in the season. So if he can build upon that, if he can stack from how he ended last season, and we keep Spike going as who he was last season, I think that you're looking at a very, very solid start to this offensive line.
Yeah, like I said, keeping CJ was far and away priority number one, but number two is making sure that CJ has a gang of bodyguards around him, because we saw where the majority of the offensive success, not even just from CJ, but the success we had in our run game, it's going to start up front, and it always will. And that's why you hear coaches, and especially Coach 2J, harp on it so much. Your big men are going to have to lead the way for your team. And so keeping CJ protected in 2026 will be vitally, if not even more important than it was in 2025. So McCrimmon from ECU, Anderson and Souls retained now in the 2025 season. That's a big deal. There was actually two more things I want to talk about now because they keep popping up. We got a punter commit. That's Jackson Waller from Arkansas State. This news dropped like right in the middle of this basketball game. Obviously, haven't watched any tape. I know he's a left-footed punter, which will be a little bit of a twist for us, and kind of weird to see someone not named Caden Noonkester punting on fourth downs for us next year. But by all accounts, Jackson Waller is a talented kid, and certainly want to keep that that mentality of special teams being a third aspect to complementary football for Dave Dorn's team. So welcome to Jackson Waller from Arkansas State. And last thing, I did see a little crystal ball action for a certain safety that played up in State College, Pennsylvania. He goes by the name of King Mack. Let me tell you about King Mack. If you pick him up, that is an immediate plug and play into the defense of DJ Elliott. He covers so much ground, and I encourage you to not really look at the stat sheet so much. Turn on the film. He can cover him some grass, and that'll be an immediate impact player if we are able to get King Mack committed to the Wolfpack. Kenton, your thoughts on, you won't know anything about the punter. Who really does? With all due respect. If you've seen any King Mack, what are your thoughts there?
The reality of King Mack is very simple. It's not just about how much ground he can cover. It's also about the fact that we are going to be in need of secondary help. We saw it last year. There were moments where, and Grayson and I had talked about this, quite frankly, for what it was. Teams were playing disrespectful football. You had corners and safeties playing. Your corners playing at 7 yards deep. Your safeties playing at 10 to 12, and we were still letting guys run behind us. That is a thing that happened, and that's not to be disrespectful to anybody. We're talking about what is objectively on tape, what is objectively big plays that happen against us. You cannot tell me that King Mack is a downgrade from the safety play that we saw last year. Obviously, he doesn't have a world's worth of tape out there, but you cannot tell me that a player with as much range as he has is going to be a downgrade, especially when we saw what we saw. We objectively saw guys playing so deep. It's like, okay, they cannot help out in the run game, and still we're looking at the back of receivers' heads like a good barber. We don't want to do any lineups. That's not what we're doing here at NC State. With all due respect, that's not what we're doing. So obviously, King Mack would be a very great pickup for NC State here. And like Grayson said on our last episode together, the portal is shorter, things are going to move more quickly.
Yeah.
You are going to look up, and all of a sudden, there will be more days of multiple commitments because these players, people transfer for different reasons. Some folks transfer for opportunity. Some folks transfer for money. Some folks transfer because their coach left. We don't know these different young men's reasoning for transferring. But what we do know is there are only so many spots. And this thing, regardless of what your reason for transferring is, it's a numbers game. It's a game of musical chairs. And if you wait too long before you sit down when the music stops, what happens, Grayson?
You're out of luck.
Be it if you're going for money. You think the teams are not going to run out of money at some point?
Oh, yeah. The money gets spent up.
Be it if you're going for opportunity. Well, if I just paid this guy $500,000 to be my safety, my corner, my left tackle, my running back, how many more guys do you think we have to give opportunity after we just gave this guy a ton of money? Be it if we're talking about regardless of what it is that you are looking at, there is not a unlimited amount of resources to go around. There's not an unlimited amount of anything that guys are hopping into the transfer portal for. And so even if you're talking about, I just want to be on a team that's a winner, that has the opportunity to be a champion, and I think that NC State's roster looks great for that next year, that's fine. NC State does not have unlimited scholarships. That's just the reality. So the reality of what we're looking at here, the portal is going to move fast. There's going to be a ton of guys that are coming out very quickly, and King Mack coming to NC State wouldn't be surprising. That announcement dropping very soon, again, would not be very surprising because at the end of the day, these schools are not going to wait around for forever because the same way that the players are playing musical chairs, so are the schools. And if you're waiting around for the guy that you think is the guy to commit to you, unless it's a premium player at a premium position, you can't afford to do that. And even if it is a premium player at a premium position, if you aren't at least scouting for a backup option, if you aren't at least, throwing feelers out there, doing something for a backup option, you're going to be in a very bad way. So King Mack potentially being at NC State, that's a great time. Obviously, with the punting situation, we saw what it looks like when special teams kills you. Special teams lost us multiple games last year. There's no denying that. We talk about special teams. If you take the Duke faux pas from that special teams, the special teams from the Duke faux pas, the faux pas from special teams against Duke, if you take those away, we win that game easily, despite the phantom offsides that never got called. Even with that, if you take away that blocked field goal, if you take away the multiple muff punts, if you take away those things, all of a sudden the game looks very different for NC State. So special teams is a third of the game, whether you like it or not. Adding this young man from Arkansas State can't hurt us.
Yeah, like we said, the commitments for a lot of these schools, and including NC State, they're looking like they're going to start coming in waves. And so I'm expecting a whole lot more for NC State over the course of this week and probably bleeding into next week. So some excitement on the horizon, and also in the rearview mirror now. We got a big commitment from ECU, couple gets. So what do we say about the best gets sometimes are the ones you already have? And Anderson and Souls returning to NC State's a very big deal. You got special teams getting figured out with the punter. If you can get King Mack, that's where I'm hung up on at the moment. So a lot of excitement right now around NC State football. You get a road win for NC State basketball. More to come for the remainder of the week, but that will do it for us here tonight. It's past midnight on the East Coast. Kenton's all the way out on the West Coast, but the whole globe covered here on a Tuesday night. So thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We will catch you all next on Thursday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.